The conversation you're avoiding might be the breakthrough someone else has been waiting for. Clear feedback, when delivered with care, is not a threat to relationship. It's one of the ways leaders help people grow. Ready to grow with resilience, clarity, and confidence in leadership, career, and faith? Welcome to The Next Move. I'm Orvin, Kimbrough, CEO, author, and founder of The Thriver's Path. I went from foster care to the CEO seat, and here's what I learned. Transformation doesn't start with a title. It starts with your next move. How you reframe your thinking, reclaim your agency, and rename what's possible. If you're done circling and ready to step forward, you're in the right place. Let's make your next move your best move. Welcome back to The Next Move, the podcast where we explore faith, leadership, and personal growth to help you take your next step with purpose and confidence. Folks, I'm your host, Orvin Kimbrough. Today, I want to talk about something every leader eventually has to face: how to give feedback without damaging relationships. This matters. It matters. It's so important now because many leaders were carrying conversations they know they need to have. They see the gap. They feel the tension. They know something is off, but instead of naming it, they manage around it. They soften it. They delay it. They hope time will fix it. But time rarely fixes what clarity is supposed to address. So today I want to invite you to reflect on this question. What conversation are you avoiding because you care about the relationship, but deep down, you know your silence may be limiting the person's growth? Because giving feedback is one of the most avoided responsibilities in leadership. Not because leaders don't care. Most leaders care deeply. They avoid it because they do care. They say things like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want them to think I'm being hard on them. It is not that serious. I will wait and see if it gets better on its own. Folks, I understand that. I've been there. There were seasons in my leadership where I had empathy, but not enough clarity, compassion, but not enough candor. I wanted people to feel supported. I wanted people to know I believed in them. I wanted the relationship to stay intact. But I learned something the hard way. Being nice is not the same as being loving. Did you catch that? Being nice is not the same as being loving. Sometimes what we call kindness is really our discomfort dressed up in softer language. Sometimes we avoid the conversation not because we are protecting the other person, but because we are protecting ourselves from the emotional weight of telling the truth. And that is where leadership gets real. Because clarity is an act of care. Avoidance is often an act of self-protection. When we avoid giving feedback, we may think we are protecting the relationship, but often we are protecting our own comfort. We're protecting our image as the good leader, the supportive leader, the easy leader, the leader people like. But leadership is not just about being liked, folks. It's not that. Leadership is about being faithful to the growth of the people entrusted to your care. That's why Ephesians 4:15 is such a powerful, powerful anchor, speaking the truth in love, not truth as a weapon, not love as avoidance, truth in love. That phrase carries both courage and tenderness. It tells us that truth matters, but so does how truth is carried, because people can usually receive difficult truth when they can feel that your heart is for them. That may not, they may not enjoy it in the moment. They may need time to process it. They may even push back a little. But when feedback is delivered with dignity, specificity, and care, it becomes less like punishment and more like investment. And that is the discipline of clear, caring leadership. Let me offer a few reflections. First, people want the truth when it is delivered with humanity. Most people are not afraid of feedback. They are afraid of disrespect. They are afraid of being embarrassed. They are afraid of being diminished. They are afraid of being talked down to. They are afraid that one mistake will become their whole identity. That's why tone matters, presence matters, intent matters. When I sit with someone to give feedback, I've learned to ask myself before the conversation, am I trying to prove a point or am I trying to help this person grow? That question checks my spirit. because feedback is not just about what I need to say. It is about the condition of my heart when I say it. Ooh, I hope you caught that. If I'm frustrated, impatient, or trying to unload my irritation, I need to pause. That doesn't mean I avoid the conversation. It means I prepare myself to have it in a way that reflects the kind of leader I claim to be. Clear does not mean cold. Firm does not mean harsh. Direct does not mean demeaning. You can be honest and still honoring. Second, feedback is not confrontation, it's collaboration. Too many leaders treat feedback like a courtroom. They build the case, they present the evidence, they wait for the verdict. But feedback at its best is not prosecution, it's partnership. It's partnership. It says, I see something in you worth investing in. I see a gap, but I also see capacity. I see the issue, but I also see your future. That changes the whole energy of the conversation, because the goal is not to catch someone failing. The goal is to help them see what they may not be seeing. In banking and community work, in nonprofit leadership, in every environment I have served, I have learned that people often operate with blind spots. We all do. There are things others can see in us before we can see them in ourselves. A leader's responsibility is not to shame the blind spot. A leader's responsibility is to bring light to it. That is holy work when it is done with humanity. Third, feedback must be specific to be transformational. Feedback must be specific to be transformational. Do it better is not feedback. Step it up is not feedback. You need to be more professional, might be true, but if it's not defined, it leaves the person guessing, and guessing creates anxiety. Clarity reduces anxiety. So carrying leadership names the gap, not vaguely, specifically. Here is what I observe. Here is the impact it is having. Here is what excellence looks like. Here is the next move I'm asking you to make. And here is how I'm willing to support you. That's feedback. It gives a person something to hold, something to work with, something to grow from, because vague feedback leaves people stuck in self-protection. Specific feedback gives people a path. And this connects directly to the thriver's path. People are not stuck because they lack potential. Often they are stuck because no one has helped them name what is happening, reclaim their agency, and see a different possibility. That is the heart of the work. Reframe, reclaim, rename. Feedback, when done well, is part of that transformation. It helps someone reframe what they are experiencing. It helps them reclaim ownership over their growth. It helps them rename what is possible for the future. And fourth, your tone determines whether the relationship strengthens or breaks. I have seen feedback delivered in ways that were technically accurate but emotionally destructive. The facts were right, the spirit was wrong. And when the spirit is wrong, people stop hearing the truth because they are busy protecting themselves from the wound. I hope you caught that. That's why leaders must learn emotional discipline. You don't bring all of your frustration into a feedback conversation. You don't use someone else's mistake as permission to abandon their dignity. You don't confuse volume with conviction. You don't confuse sharpness with strength. The strongest leaders I know can say hard things without making people feel small. That is not weakness. That is maturity. That is emotional intelligence. That is stewardship. Because when people leave a feedback conversation, they should know two things clearly. They should know they should know what needs to change, and they should know they still have value. Both matter. If they only know they have value, but they don't know what needs to change, you have comforted them but not developed them. If they only know what needs to change but no longer feel value, you may have corrected behavior while damaging trust. But when truth and love come together, something powerful happens. Something powerful happens. Growth becomes possible. So here's the reframe. The conversation you're avoiding is often the breakthrough someone else has been waiting for. That employee may already know something is off. That team member may already feel the gap. That emerging leader may already sense they are not showing up at the level they are capable of. Your feedback may not crush them. It may confirm what they have been trying to understand. It may give language to what they have been feeling. It may become the doorway to their next level. Here's the reclaim. You're not delivering criticism. You are delivering clarity. And clarity is one of the most generous gifts a leader can give. Not because it's easy, but because it's honest, because it respects the person enough to tell them the truth, because it believes they are capable of growth, because it refuses to leave them guessing. And here's your rename. You don't just give feedback. You help people see a future. That is what clear, caring leadership does. It doesn't just reduce people to their mistakes. It does not avoid the hard thing in the name of peace. It does not weaponize truth. It helps people take their next move with dignity. So your call to action this week is simple. Think about one conversation you have been delaying, not the conversation you want to win, the conversation someone may need in order to grow. Before you have it, check your heart. Ask yourself, am I speaking from frustration or from care? Am I trying to control? Am I trying to control or trying to develop? Have I been specific enough to be helpful? Can this person leave the conversation knowing both the truth and their value? Then have the conversation. Have it prayerfully, clearly, respectfully, with love, because the goal is not to damage the relationship. The goal is to deepen trust by becoming the kind of leader who refuses to hide from what growth requires. And if this message connects with you where you are on your journey, I invite you to keep walking with me in the Thriver's path. Make today great. Thanks for spending time with me on The Next Move. I hope today's reflection helped you see your situation differently and reminded you that you're not stuck, you're being strengthened. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who's standing at the edge of their next move. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's ahead. For deeper reflections, tools, and guided pathways for growth, visit orvinkimbrough.com and explore the Thriver's Path. Until next time, remember, every small step taken with intention moves you closer to the life and leadership you're becoming. Let's keep moving forward together.